In today's episode of Today in World War II, Yugoslavians protest fiercely against their prime minister, their prince's agreement to join Hitler's Balkan Entente. The very last British cavalry charge in their history occurred today. Hitler survives another assassination attempt. And finally, the USS Franklin aircraft off of Japan was bombed bad. Let's get started. Okay, so on today's date, like I said, the Yugoslavian prince and government had decided to, after fierce pressure from Hitler, join the Balkan Entente. Hitler was ready to invade the Soviet Union. He wanted to shore up his southwestern flank. So who was that? That was Hungary, it was Bulgaria, Romania, and Yugoslavia. If you remember, Yugoslavia at the time it comprised Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, and Serbia. So he wanted them to be on his side. He also wanted troops, and he got a lot of troops from Romania on the Eastern Front as well. But that's a whole different subject. Well, once he did this, there was an uprising, a popular uprising against that. And many of the ministers in his government also resigned in protest. Now, I'm not going to step on what's going to happen here in the next few days, but let's put it this way. It's going to go way beyond that, and it's going to bring Yugoslavia into the war in a way that I don't think Hitler ever thought was going to happen. On today's date, March 21st, 1942, the very last cavalry charge in British history occurred, and it was on the Burma front. If you remember, Japanese had invaded Burma. They had they were already in French Indonesia, which is Vietnam. They, for all intents and purposes, controlled Thailand. And so Burma was the next neighbor. So they had gone to Burma as part of their post Pearl Harbor invasion to capture all the Southeast Asia. And the Brits were defeated. They were pushed back into India, which the part of India that now is Bangladesh. On the Burma frontier, 60 Sikh cavalrymen, they called them Sowars, attacked Japanese infantry at this town called Tangu. I apologize if I pronounced it incorrectly. Well, sending cavalry against machine guns is probably not the best tactic. And so you can guess what happened. Most of them were killed. And the only thing I can say is they shoot horses, don't they? On today's date, March 21st, 1943, Hitler and a bunch of his cronies like Goering, Wilhelm Keitel, Dönitz, Himmler, Futter von Brock, Edhard Mirch, and others, they were visiting the Zeug exhibition. They wanted to see captured Soviet equipment. This was the first appearance that Hitler had made in 4 months, and it was a chance for the German resistance to strike. Well, there's this Colonel Rudolf von Gersdorf, and he had packed his overcoat with explosives, and he was going to do a jihad type situation where he was going to blow himself up along with Hitler. But Hitler's fantastically diabolical luck saved him again because his schedule was changed unexpectedly. He left the exhibition early, so they couldn't do the assassination attempt. It's just mind-boggling to me how there were so many assassination attempts that didn't work or something happened, something came up, and I mean that kind of luck was unbelievable. And to me, it's completely ironic that the only bullet that actually killed the SOB at the end of the war was the one that he put up to his chin to blow his brains out before the Soviets captured him. Finally, on March 21st, 1945, a U.S. aircraft carrier, U.S. Franklin, was almost destroyed. It was a Japanese bomber, and ironically enough, it was a conventional bomber. It wasn't a kamikaze. So it broke through the combat air patrol, got through all the anti-aircraft, and it dropped a 250 kilogram bomb, which obviously American carriers had wooden wooding. They use wood instead of steel, landing, what do they call it? Landing areas. And I apologize. It just slipped my mind. Anyway, it broke through to the carrier, to the hangar deck. And there was 27 aircraft there that were rearming and refueling. So this is exactly what happened to the Japanese carriers during the Battle of Midway. And then a second bomb ignited all the gasoline vapors and ammunition, and another 31 aircraft went up in flames. So you can imagine just how much destruction that happened inside that carrier below decks. About 724 sailors were killed, but 265 were wounded. The Franklin was basically a shell after that. Now it was able to make it back to the US, but obviously this time of the war, there's no way they're going to be able to repair that thing before the war ended. So that is a short description of the things that happened today in World War II. I thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow.